Hey everybody, Captain Zeus here, and welcome back to BP Fun. I do have a TV series review for you over Marvel's Echo series. Spoiler warning for anyone that has not seen the show whatsoever. I'm going to be going in depth on each episode as to what I feel about it, as well as the end credit scene. And don't forget to like and subscribe for other reviews just like this. Now in episode 1, we will say the recap fused with the backstory was just so good. Granted, most of the episode was just recap. It was really just recap slash backstory, which I don't think was an issue considering this was just a 5-issue season. I do think they should just make this a limited series though, but I'll go into that later. I do love the casting as they did for not only the characters in Maya's backstory, but just in general. I thought the casting was very well done. Not sure what the opening sequence was about, at least at first. It left me very confused until like the last episode or the second to last episode. I do love the back and forth between Echo's POV with things going silent or muffled and then going back to the normal sound of everything. It honestly made things a little bit more cinematic, and I honestly got really into what was happening there when that was going on. They did it in such a dramatic way and it just flowed so well. Now, I do also love seeing Charlie Cox's Daredevil in action. As I've mentioned in a previous video, the choreography could have been better with the fight scene between Daredevil and Echo, but it was still entertaining. Now, I do also like that Kingpin was trying to raise his own weapon against Daredevil from what it looked like, and he really got attached to Maya, which we will go into later. Now, in episode 2, honestly, I thought the Native American rugby-like game was just super cool to watch. I think that should be done professionally again, and I'd watch the crap out of it. Now, at first, I absolutely had no idea what it was for, completely lost, and that's kind of like a theme with some of the things that were happening between the beginning of each of these episodes, was just stuff that was in the past that I was just confused about. Also, Maya's nonchalantness just cracks me up, especially with her interactions with Biscuit, who was becoming one of my favorite characters in the entire series. I do like how all the phone interactions, like the tracker and the spy camera, was also shown on a screen whenever it panned over to Maya's POV. Now, the visuals did start to decline in this episode pretty drastically. What the frick? Maya has powers? That was not something I saw coming. I knew nothing of her character in the comics outside the fact that she was like Kingpin's adoptive daughter and that she was a villain, so this was beginning to get an interesting twist for me. Now, in episode 3, I will say the intro segment with the Light Horseman threw me off a bit. It was a cool change of pace, but I thought it was just cringe that Tucklow tried to pull like a Mulan, but in a more cliche feminist way. But I did love in episode 3 that the jumpsuit gang did return in a more evolved and mature way, and the fight scenes in that episode were just absolutely phenomenal. Now in episode 4, I know we all saw the ice cream man getting beat up scene from the trailer. It's been played numerous times, but I still think it was such a good scene. Seeing it again, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would have did the same thing if I was Fisk and Maya was my little girl. And her reaction to seeing Fisk beat that dude up shows that she's a part of the same cloth as him, and their bond grows deeper and started way early on. But him killing the interpreter was absolutely wild. I did not see that coming. I think the coolest thing I've ever seen was the contact that translates sign language, and I think we need that in real life, like ASAP, like right now, because that's the coolest thing in existence. Also, I do want to point out the fact that the Sunday dinner that Fisk made such a big deal out of never actually took place. They never actually ate anything there. He just left. He puts the stuff down and then just leaves. So that was something. In episode 5, when it comes to Maya, quote unquote, healing her past traumas, I think that was rushed. I honestly felt like it was just an easy cop out for her to get past everything, which with anyone with trauma should know, it is not healed in a 1-minute segment. Like, that takes a long time to heal, so I wasn't really a big fan of that. I feel like there should have been more to it, and they did it as just an excuse to give her costumes. I think it would have been cooler to see hints of her trying to heal through her trauma throughout the show, especially if this was a longer show. It would have been nice to see those hints there and people trying to reach out and her kind of struggle with that. And then at this scene is when she finally like breaks that chain, you know what I mean? Now, the whole female montage with all of them standing next to Echo was just so cringe. Honestly, I'm so tired of Marvel doing this. They'll always do some kind of forced female gang up scene, and it's just cringe. Nobody likes to see that. It's so unnatural. But I did think it was dope that when she started to use her powers, her other family members also use the same powers, such as her sister, which I think is her sister, and her grandma. I thought that was cool, and then seeing them beat the guys up, I thought was also cool. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was pretty neat. I thought it was also kind of dope to see the imagery of the ancestors kind of like fade over her, or kind of like basically hover over her as they were like she was gonna use their abilities or start to echo through her ancestors. I did think that was kind of cool visually. Her healing Fisk's pain was a really powerful scene. I think that not only affects their relationship as a whole, because it did get a little bit deeper and more personal, but I think this will also affect Kingpin in the future with not only the way he approaches things and his intensity, but I think this will also affect how he views the bigger picture. As we go into the end credit scene here, the Mayor Kingpin storyline is going to be going down. And I think it's going to be dope. We're going to probably see this in Daredevil Born Again, and we'll see some scenes from seasons 1 and 3 about the relationship and tension between Daredevil and Fisk. Overall, I think there were several times where the visuals were just freaking lame. They were whack. And I wouldn't even say several times. I would say a bunch. Like in episode 2, in episode 4, and even in episode 5. Like there was just a lot of times where visuals just kind of gave up. I don't know why. It was even in the first episode, and I think it's ridiculous. Yet there was also plenty of times where they were just absolutely phenomenal. It's kind of like Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, where they just had scenes where it was good and the rest that were bad, but it's like mixed throughout instead of just being it in halves. I don't know what that is, and I don't like it. Now, you can definitely tell that this was a homage, if not an exact vibe, to the Defender Saga. As I've mentioned previously in a short that I just released, the Defender Saga is completely canon in the MCU. From the intro and soundtrack to the cinematography, action, brutality, and storytelling, you could definitely tell this was a part of that street level story that we've seen with Daredevil, Iron Fist, etc. Now, speaking of intros, I think the visuals for it was dope as frick, just like every entry in the Defender Saga. Definitely made me want to rewatch all of those shows again. And I will say, Echo's actress needs some help on the choreography because she was just off, like just a bit off at random points throughout the show whenever she was doing action scenes. You kind of see that in the Daredevil fight where she kind of holds her leg there for like, I don't know, 15 seconds. And then you just notice that as well with just timing. I mean, overall, the rest of the fight scenes were absolutely amazing to watch. So don't get me wrong, the fight scenes were great. I will say though, I did like the ending where she reconnects with her family. But at the same time, like what's next for her character? Overall, I'm going to give the series a 7.5 out of 10. Going in with no expectations, the series did surprise me with honestly Biscuit being funny, the action scenes being very good and reminiscent to the Netflix Defender Saga, as well as just the storyline was actually pretty good. I was genuinely surprised at how well written this story was for 90% of it. The ending I'm not really a fan of, and despite its cheap routes with some of the storytelling and visuals, this was honestly a pretty good show. I could definitely watch this again and have no issues outside of the ones I've already mentioned. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I mean, I'm Captain Zeus, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.